I'm joined today by John Hannigan, who's the CEO of Circle Voluntary Housing. I recently completed a leadership team development process for John and his team, consisting of 5 full-day workshops over a 5-month period. And John's going to talk about the process. So thank you very much, John, for joining me for this conversation today.
Hi, Kieran.
So maybe we'd start with, what were the benefits for the team of the leadership team development process?
We'd been working together, we're a relatively new team, and we'd been working together for a short time, so probably just over 18 months. We'd lost a couple of people from the original team, and we'd introduced a new person to it. One of the things that we needed and wanted to do was actually get to know each other better, get to know each other's style of management, style of working, style of thinking. And what the leadership development process allowed us to do was to get into that in quite a bit of detail. Gave us a bit of time to step back from our day-to-day busyness, something that we're famous for, to give us time to think and to question some of the things that we've been doing more deeply. But also it gave us an opportunity to learn some new tools to be able to apply to the day-to-day of running the organization, but also building our relationships together to be more effective. And I think there is quite a lot of evidence now that to demonstrate that that effectiveness has improved significantly.
Okay, so maybe say a little bit more about that effectiveness, because I guess what I'm trying to get at is what at the end of the process, how was the team different than at the beginning of the process? So what were some of the, if you had to highlight a couple of things where you saw that the effectiveness of the team had improved, what would they be?
Okay, well, first thing I want to say that my colleagues are experts at their job. They're brilliant at their jobs in their silos. They're probably some of the best in the country, I would suggest. I'm probably a bit biased, but in terms of their individual roles, really good. But what we weren't good at was being a team and looking at things from a team perspective. So one of the very distinct benefits is that we now see ourselves as a primary team. We talk about how we make decisions as opposed to how they make a decision within their silo. So we've lifted each other and the processes out of the silo mentality into a team thinking perspective. So that was one key differentiator from when we started to when we finished. I think the second thing is that we are also very much aware of how we operate, and therefore the language we use with each other. And some people might think this is a bit contrived, but actually it's been an enormously helpful thing to understand how we all think, how we all operate, what our behaviors are like, and what we need to be able to do our jobs better as individuals. And there's a greater sense of that within the team now. So we have somebody who's very much about the nuts and bolts of the day-to-day, likes to be a completer finisher. So we know when we're talking to that individual, the kind of language and things that they like to see. Whereas I'm somebody who is at the other end of that spectrum. I'm a plant and somebody who likes to have lots of ideas. So I'm not the person that we would utilize for getting things into a detailed perspective to be able to make a proposal, for example. So we've learned very much about how each of us think and the behaviors that we react best to in terms of getting things done. And we've also understood where our weaknesses were. So like most organizations, we focus on what our strengths are, but actually understanding your weaknesses has enabled us to be able to see where we need to bring others in, or whether we need to be aware of how we're doing something ourselves and what we might be missing out on. So that's the other very clear distinction, that we've looked at our gaps in terms of where our behaviors are and what do we need to do better.
Okay. And are there any particular aspects of the workshops that stand out for you? So we had 5 in total over a 5-month period. Anything in particular that pops into your mind as a highlight?
I think the first highlight was the fact that we had a couple, I think we had one together in that 5 and the rest were not. But the time, just having that time to be able to step back and talk to each other, think about things in a different way, to give ourselves the breathing space to be able to look deeper into things. I suppose like most organizations, I think most organizations, we skim across the top of a lot of things at times. We don't get the opportunity to go deeper into them. And having that opportunity to actually learn about each other in more detail was really a very positive outcome.
Yeah, because it strikes me in the work that I do that relentless busyness that's a requirement of organizational life at the moment, it's really important, but also quite challenging to step out of that busyness and to create those spaces for you to connect with each other and to think.
Yeah, I can say just on that as well, the other thing that I think was very important for us is that we knew we were getting that space. So having them planned, knowing when they were going to be, meant that we could work towards that. And actually, one of the things that we were very conscious of, we brought something practical to deal with as well. And that was, so we got more time to actually be cognizant of that practical thing and get an outcome from that over the period of the 5. So the planning of it was very enabling as well.
Okay. Do you have a sense that the people outside of the leadership team are experiencing the leadership team any differently now than maybe 6 months ago?
Yeah, and I can speak with a bit of I suppose deeper understanding of this, because we've done a survey recently of our staff team, and we asked them about, how do they experience the organization and its leadership. And one of the things that we found over the last 6 months is that, first of all, there's a greater clarity coming from the leadership team. Also, there's a greater consistency. So when we talk about something together, there's a greater use of the same language. And they've started to recognize that we actually have some tools that we've been utilizing, and they're seeing those tools pop up within their own day-to-day stuff, which is really positive as well.
Okay.
So yeah, so some practical stuff has come out of it from our perspective.
Okay. And then my final question then is in terms of your own leadership journey. So I take the view that we're all the time evolving as leaders, depending on the context that we find ourselves in, and in terms of our own growth and development. So how has your understanding of your leadership role evolved through the process?
I think 3 years ago, just over 3.5 years ago, when I came into the role in Circle, I found myself very much in the doing version of what I needed to be, or at least what I felt I needed to be. And as I've managed to build a team of senior people with me now, my role is to step back from that and to enable, to be more enabling than I might have been previously. I have a lot of years of experience in this sector, so I feel there's certain ways things should be doing. But actually, what I found is by allowing others to express their both their concerns, but also their thoughts and their opinions, that we've been able to do things better. So actually, I've had to move away from a doing perspective into more of a guiding empowerment process, which actually has been quite challenging at times. I'm very much, I like getting things done and seeing things done. It's part of my shape or profile, I think, from Belbin. But that can be a difficult thing. And actually, we've just done a Belbin recently, and my team worker side of it has significantly improved since then, which is one of the things I was very much lacking in. So I think from a personal perspective, being able to take that step back, the process that we've worked through has helped enormously with that.
I know I said it was the last question, but I actually have another one.
Yeah, question. That's
okay. What's the benefits to the organization or to the leadership team that you're now less operationally focused or less doing and stepping back?
Benefit to the team or benefit to the organization? Because
both, actually.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, both.
I think there's a difference.
Or.
I think there's a difference. I think it's enabled the senior team to step in and step up a little bit more, and to I won't say feel a sense of freedom, but to feel a sense of being able to bring more, rather than having to constantly check with me, this is what you want. So they have a real sense of empowerment, I think, from their perspective, that they bring the ideas. Now, we do a lot of talk and a lot of discussions, but the discussions are much, I suppose, deeper and much, I suppose they're more, you might say, more honest, in that we really go through the difficult parts of the conversation as well as the obvious stuff. So from that perspective, it's enabled them to be, I think, bigger and better managers, but also leaders. And I mean, real leaders. I think from an organizational perspective, the benefit has been about the organization seeing that they've got more leadership than just the one person. And I think that's really important, but also understanding that we're trying to also push that leadership through the organization, not just at a single level. And that message is beginning to permeate through. So they've seen it happen, that I've stepped back. We've got our senior team who are now handing on to a new management team that we've created. And that sense of the leadership, real leadership, not just management, being pushed through the organization is gives a very positive sense to the organization.
John, I really appreciate you taking the time to offer these reflections to the leadership team development process over the last number of months. Thank you very much.
Thank you for guiding us. We've really appreciated that.